This episode of The Young Turks is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook at audiblepodcast.com/TYT.
Let's talk about Republican terrorist sympathizers. And there are 4 people who are on the list. And they're on that list because they went to go support Mujaheddin-e Khalq. That is a terrorist group that has been on our terrorist watch list since 1997, including through the Bush administration, confirmed over and over again, a terrorist group. In fact, that's a group that has attacked American interests before. In fact, they participated in the taking of our hostages in Iran in 1979. And the Council on Foreign Relations also details how in the 1970s they led to the killings of U.S. military personnel and civilians working on defense projects in Tehran. They have killed Americans. They have taken Americans hostage. Now, they've also worked with the dreaded Saddam Hussein. They helped him to suppress the Shiites within Iraq. Okay? Now, remember, that was one of our stated reasons for going into Iraq, was that he killed the Shiites and attacked them and suppressed them. Mujaheddin-e Khalq helped him to do that, right? And they also gave him aid and money, etc., to Saddam Hussein. This is a terrible group, right? I mean, it can't get any worse than this. So 4 Republicans went to France, of all places, to support Mujaheddin-e Khalq. These are the 4 guys who should be wanted as terrorist sympathizers. Rudy Giuliani, Michael Mukasey, who was the Attorney General for President Bush, Tom Ridge, who was the head of Homeland Security for George W. Bush, and Fran Townsend, who was also part of the Bush administration. Not only did they go to support Mujaheddin-e Khalq, they said that they, quote, demanded that Obama instead take the group off the U.S. list of foreign terrorist organizations and incorporate it into efforts to overturn the mullah-led government in Tehran. Now, if you're a terrorist, but you're working against our enemies, and you're killing civilians, whatever you're doing, who cares? You're helping Saddam in the past, you killed Americans in the past, who cares? As long as you're fighting our enemies, we're on your side. Now, here's part of the problem with this. It turns out that it is now illegal to even, not only to materially help terrorists, obviously, but to support them and to even say, hey, that they should be taken off the terrorist list. There was a case called Holder versus Humanitarian Law, and the professor who fought that case for the plaintiffs, Professor David Cole, says that in the New York Times, that to engage in public advocacy to challenge a group's terrorist designation or even to encourage peaceful avenues of redress of grievances would be against the law, would be aiding and abetting terrorism, according to this law. So I guess Rudy Giuliani, Mukasey, Ridge, Townsend are all aiding and abetting terrorism. And they're doing it on foreign soil, like in France of all places. Here's what Mukasey said. Now remember, former Attorney General for George W. Bush. He said, American opposition to these terrorists is, quote, nothing less than an embarrassment. The fact that we are opposed to these terrorists is nothing less than an embarrassment. Here's what's an embarrassment. These Republicans and their hypocrisy. If you're a terrorist but you're on our side, who cares? If you're a terrorist who's not on our side, oh, that's terrible and despicable, and you should be put in jail. And by the way, this is not theoretical. People who are put in jail for aiding and abetting terrorism, if they speak positively of terrorist groups, people we have deemed to be terrorists, including Mujaheddin-e Khalq, if you think that's not bad. And by the way, Glenn Greenwald wrote a terrific piece on this in Salon.com, and I'm doubling down on that here. Zainab Taleb Jadi, in 2008, was convicted in federal court for material support for terrorism for supporting and joining Mujaheddin-e Khalq in 2008 under Bush. So why are we not arresting Mukasey, Giuliani, Ridge, Townsend? They should be wanted. They're criminals. They aid and abet terrorists on foreign soil. How dare they? But I guess if you are, a Republican, you can aid and abet terrorists all you like. Remember Representative King from New York, who's always talking about, oh, I'm going to investigate, and he's doing a panel now to investigate all Muslims in the country, used to aid and abet the IRA, would raise money for them. They were a terrorist group then, killing civilians. Oh no, but if you're a Republican, that doesn't count. And terrorism, it doesn't really mean anything, it just means the people we don't like. If they're terrorists on our side, that's lovely. All right, and to give you a sense of the full sense of the hypocrisy, Fran Townsend is on CNN. As Glenn points out, CNN has fired people before for saying nice things. One of the leaders of Hezbollah, when he died, one of the reporters said, hey, you know what? He was, in many quarters, for many people, he was a great man, which, by the way, a lot of people agree with. Not because of what he did in supporting Hezbollah, but what he did for the community there or whatever. Now, you can agree with that, you can disagree with that, whatever it is, but CNN wouldn't have that conversation. They immediately fired her, right? Fran Townsend works on CNN, and in fact, Wolf Blitzer had said this once to her, and she vehemently agreed. Here's the quote. If you're thinking about even voicing support for a terrorist group, don't do it because the government can come down hard on you, and the Supreme Court said the government has every right to do so. And Fran Townsend said, oh, absolutely, that's right. Then she went over to France and voiced support for a well-known terrorist group. I am awaiting their imminent arrest. Audible.com is the leading provider of audiobooks.
In fact, they have over 75,000 titles.
And you can listen on your iPod or your MP3 player. You can listen to it anywhere at any time. It's incredibly convenient.
And they have books in every single genre imaginable. You can get a free audiobook if you go to audiblepodcast.com/TYT.
Totally true.